Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. APW Sports signing in. And now that the NFL coaching cycle is over, with the Saints officially hiring Kellen Moore, it is time for me to give my thoughts, opinions on every coaching hire that has occurred. Now that we're in the off season, the content is not going to stop, the grind is not going to stop. Make sure you guys leave this video a like as it helps this channel to continue to grow. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so you will not miss any of the content I'm posting. Grind's still happening. We got draft coming up, we got free agency coming up, so the grind is not going to stop, and I'm not going to make this intro long. So without further ado, let's dive into it. First, we're going to start with the aforementioned Kellen Moore going to the New Orleans Saints. Now, I do think Kellen Moore's offensive system can be a very good offensive system. We've seen it during his time, during his offensive coordinator team with the Dallas Cowboys. We see them have productive offenses. We've seen it last year with the Philadelphia Eagles. He had a productive offense then. The only question to me about Kellen Moore coming to the New Orleans Saints is, what are they going to do at quarterback? We've seen Derek Carr have his struggles. We had Spencer Rattler for the Saints last year. He had his ups and downs. When we're talking about a Saints team that is A, salary cap stricken, B, on the defensive side of the ball especially, they're getting up there in age. What is the expectations for the organization going to be for the Saints coming into year one of Kellen Moore's tenure? And what are they going to do at the quarterback position? Are they going to stand pat and still think that Derek Carr is the guy? Are they going to have some usage of Spencer Rattler? But when we're talking about this Saints team, I've always said, and you guys can probably go back, I've always said that this New Orleans Saints team is a team that needs to rebuild. A lot of teams you rebuild, you're starting from that quarterback position. But that is going to be interesting enough because even though this team, like I said, needs to rebuild, they have Spencer Rattler who showed some flashes. Derek Carr has had some moments, and it's interesting to see, are they going to stick to them with the salary cap holes that they have, or are they going to make some type of a move to be a sleeper as far as moving up in the draft? As far as in free agency, do they bring a guy in? It's interesting to see where the Saints are going to go, but as far as Kellen Moore, I'm not going to give this a high grade right away because I think this Saints team, like I said, they have a lot to fix. They have a lot to work on. Guys are getting older. Offensively, I think they still need to get a big threat at the wide receiver position, especially if the questions of Chris Olave from the Ohio State University, his health, and Alvin Kamara, what are they going to do with his contract situation, and what is he going to be back to that same productive player? But as far as a fit, I do like Kellen Moore as the head coach, but it's just a lot of questions with this Saints team that needs to be answered. So I think Kellen Moore is one of those head coaches that I personally think the organization really needs to practice patience with him, especially with the lot of roster flux that is probably going to happen with this team within the next year or two. So I do like this hire, but the Saints need to be patient with them. They're not going to win right away, and nor should they expect to. But I think once he gets his system, once he gets his quarterback, then we can start to judge Kellen Moore as far as what he's going to do as the head coach. Now, the Dallas Cowboys are next, and they hired Brian Schottenheimer, which I'm just going to give my opinion. I don't care what anybody says. I think this is a questionable hire. Despite the fact that Brian Schottenheimer has been an assistant coach in this league for a very long time, he's had production throughout his stops. I think Brian Schottenheimer could be a good head coach. I just don't think it would have been right in Dallas. I think Jerry Jones gets another yes man. I think Jerry Jones should have went outside of the organization to hire another head coach. Even though Brian Schottenheimer has paid his dues and he's been deserving of a head coaching job, and I just don't think he's the right hire for the Cowboys. Now, would it have been the right hire for him somewhere else? I personally think so, but not for the Cowboys. With the same basically locker room type of culture that you had from last season, which we seen that was a disaster. An offensive system that basically they still need to get pieces. And I think Brian Schottenheimer is just going to be another one of Jerry Jones's puppets. And I just personally don't think this is the right hire, at least for the Dallas Cowboys and where they're trying to go. They still have a lot of money tied up into players. They still have Michael Parsons to deal with. But as far as Brian Schottenheimer being the guy that is selected for this head coaching job, I don't like the move. I don't like the move. Now, I hope in a little bit to be proven wrong, but Cowboys fans are very annoying. I will say that again. Cowboys fans are very annoying. It's just, you had a lot of contract issues. You still got to pay Michael Parsons somehow. You still have some issues to fix within your offensive line. You still have some issues to fix with the running back position. And as far as I think this is more of a bad hire as far as leadership and locker room culture goes versus anything else. I think maybe if they tried to go out to Belichick, maybe that could have been a good hire. And then they started too late with the process because they let Mike McCarthy be hanging in the balance a little bit too long if they knew they were going to move on for him. Brian Schottenheimer, I hope he does work out. He deserves it. He paid his dues. I just don't think this is a good hire for the Dallas Cowboys' sake. Now, we're going to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars and Liam Coen. And this is one of those things that I'm kind of questioning. I do think he has a great offensive mind. We've seen he had a good time in the Los Angeles Rams. We seen last season, he made Baker Mayfield play another great season of football. It's just the thing of the guy's been everywhere, whether it's college, Kentucky, Rams stints. But it does make sense that he's been back within those organizations because he is a good offensive mind. And then the Jaguars are a team that kind of needs to fix things, that kind of needs to get this thing right, especially with Trevor Lawrence now heading into his extension contract. And the Jaguars are a team that I personally think they need a lot of work. They need a lot of work, especially for me personally on that defensive side of the ball. But it does make sense that you hired an offensive mind to try to get the best out of your investment in Trevor Lawrence. So I do think that is something that makes sense from their perspective, is try to get the best out of Trevor Lawrence, especially the way that you invested into him. I still think injuries played a big part of the Jaguars season necessarily not going as well. And some of the draft, I'm not going to say misses, but you can't say miss with Trayvon Walker. Selected him number 1 overall. Then you had Aiden Hutchinson go right after him. I still think that's a bit of a miss. That defensive secondary has not been very good. I could have seen if they would have went the defensive route because they had some defensive struggles. But Liam Coen, I think with the way that he had Baker Mayfield play some really good football, I personally hope that he does the same thing with Trevor Lawrence. I personally hope with Trevor Lawrence gets healthy, he gets back into the fold. I really personally think that this could be a sneaky good hire, but time would tell, especially with the offensive struggles that they had, and especially defensively. I think at this point, if he's going to be the coach, he has got to make the most out of Trevor Lawrence and get the most out of his talent and out of that offense. But I do like the hire. He has had success as an OC in college, and he had OC success with the Buccaneers last season. With all the injuries they had, they still play some really good football. So I'm hoping that this turns out well. Now we have a former player going back to his former team, and that is Aaron Glenn going to the New York Jets. Now, what I think I love about this hire is that Aaron Glenn, from what we've seen with him with the Detroit Lions, he's one of those guys that is tough, and we've seen that in his playing days. He's one of those guys that's going to change the culture, I personally believe, with the Jets, because last season was it just was all over the place. And now that it's been announced that Aaron Rodgers is probably not going to come back, which I think is a benefit for this Jets team, it's still going to be interesting to see what they do at quarterback. But I do like the fact that they got a guy who is tough-minded, a guy who can create schemes to have success. Now, a lot of people are going to question that last season at points. Well, the Lions dealt with a ton of injuries. But when we see he can scheme up a very good game plan, I do like the fact that he is a tough-minded coach. He's going to get the best out of players, and he's going to stick to his guns no matter what happens. We've seen that with the Lions last year. So for the Jets, in a culture sense, I love this for them. Change that culture, get the guys who don't need to be there, get the guys who don't fit what you're trying to build with this Jets roster who has talent. This Jets roster has talent. Now, we still have some intricate moves that they could be made, whether Devontae or if Garrett Wilson acts out from the Ohio State University. It still remains to be seen, but as far as the Jets' perspective, I do like this hire, but I kind of push back a little bit because, I mean, maybe not a little bit, but it's just like they have to figure out their quarterback position. So I wouldn't even necessarily say pushback, but they have to figure out what are they going to do at quarterback. And that is, I think, this biggest question for the Jets this offseason. Aaron Rodgers is probably out the door. So what are they going to do at quarterback? And what are they going to do with the rest of this roster? It remains to be seen. But for the coaching perspective, in the culture perspective, I love this hire for the Jets. Today's video is brought to you by ExpressVPN. For me, it is very important to have a VPN to protect my online privacy. It'd be very, very creepy if there was someone out there who kept a log of every single thing that you did online. So why let your internet provider really do that to you online? The best thing to do is to get yourself a VPN, and why not go with the ExpressVPN, the best VPN available. Personally, I like it for the fact that you can unlock Netflix shows that you do not get in the US market. Now, one show that I've started to get myself into is Brooklyn Nine-Nine. You search Brooklyn Nine-Nine in the US, doesn't come up, but you can switch your location to Canada, and you can research Brooklyn Nine-Nine again, and bam, it pops up right then and there, and you can catch up on your episodes of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Now, if you click the link in the description below, you will get 3 free months of ExpressVPN. Just by clicking the link below and you sign up today, you will get 3 months free of ExpressVPN. All you have to do is click the link down below, and you will get ExpressVPN. Now, let's just get back to the video. And speaking of another former player that went back to his former team, Mike Vrabel, and I love this hire as well. We're talking about Mike Vrabel, who is a very smart man. He's gonna get the best out of his players. I personally still don't, I still think he shouldn't have been fired for the Titans, mainly because they couldn't get that offense right. They couldn't get that quarterback position right where he was there. He comes in with a young, promising quarterback in Drake May. Like I said about a guy like Kellen Moore, I would not expect success from the Patriots early on, mainly because they still have a lot of holes on his roster to fill. I do like the fact that he's kind of that Bill Parcells type of guy with the culture, and he's going to be tough, he's going to be hard-nosed on you, and I'm secretly rooting for him because he is a former alumni of the Ohio State University, so I'm a little bit biased towards rooting for Mike Vrabel. He does have a lot to fix on the defensive side of the ball, and I will be patient. Patriots fans, I know that this is a good coach. This is a good hire, but the main thing is you have to be patient. You still have talent to surround Drake May on the offensive side of the ball. I do like Ramondre Stevenson in that running back position, but their wide receiver position could use a lot more weaponry. Defensive side of the ball can use a lot more shoring up. But one thing we did take, they did play hard and they did keep themselves in games. And I think with the defensive mind of the system that Mike Vrabel is going to bring, I think this is a very, very good hire for the New England Patriots. And I'll be secretly rooting for him because he's a former of the reigning national champion, the Ohio State Buckeyes. I'm going to touch on Ben Johnson from my Chicago Bears a little bit. I'm not going to get too deep into details. I already did a video when the Bears hired him. I'll leave that in the cards above. But the one thing that the Bears needed was a sustained offense. The one thing Caleb Williams needs is somebody who can help get the best out of him. And I think Ben Johnson is that guy. Now, culture, it remains to be seen. But the coaching hires that he's made, as far as getting Dennis Allen as the defensive coordinator, I think is huge. I think getting Dennis Allen is absolutely huge. A guy who's been there before, a guy who can come in and be hard-nosed and strict with these players, because we've seen things with the Bears last year that just wasn't there. And I think he will be better as far as the game managing, as far as the clock managing decisions. I do like this fact that he got the most out of Jared Goff, a quarterback who a lot of people wrote off. I do like the fact that he goes back and watches film to get things from teams maybe a year or two ago and implement that into his offense. I do like the fact that he is one of those young candidates, a guy that I personally think could get Caleb Williams in the right staff. Now, this offensive line is something that needs to be fixed, and I'll talk about that in future videos. And we're talking about him being the coach of the Chicago Bears. I personally love this hire, but I'm not going to get too deep in it. If you want more of my thoughts, videos in the cards. And last but not least, we're going to talk about the Las Vegas Raiders hiring Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll, I love Pete Carroll in Vegas. I love him for that team. I love him for that defensive side of the ball. The only problem, like I said, with the Bears hiring him is how long is he going to be committed to coaching football? And that is the problem that I have. He's already in his 70s. That's the only thing I have. I think he's going to bring the culture shift. I think he's going to bring a defensive mindset. He's going to be energetic, which he always is. And he is a great man that can lead these men into being better football players. But Raiders fans, kind of like most other teams, Patriots, Saints, that got new coaches, be patient. Because this Raiders team doesn't have a lot. They still need a quarterback, and we've seen that the last couple of years. They need a quarterback. Defensive side of the unit, it's interesting to see what Max Crosby, what moves are they going to make to build around him on that defensive side of the ball, or if Max Crosby just flat out acts out. They do need the running game. Offensive line is being, I think they need to get a little bit better there. Receiver position as well. I do like him being one of those hard-nosed, energetic type of coaches for this Raiders football team. He's kind of like the Patriots and the Saints. They just... Number one, the Raiders need a quarterback badly. And two, they require patience, which I'm not sure if Carroll's going to have at his older age. He's going to want to win now. But with this roster, the way that it is, I still believe that this Raiders roster needs a little bit of time to build. And will Pete Carroll be around for that? I don't know. But for these young players to instill a winning culture, to instill how to be an NFL professional, to get better, I think this is a good hire for him. It's just, it requires patience. How long is Carroll going to be patient with this team? That is all my thoughts on a new head coaching cycle in the NFL. Leave you guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Like the video, comment your thoughts, subscribe to the channel, and I am APW Sports signing out. Peace.